Welcome to the big surprise. You wouldn't believe how many text messages we've got. Are you pregnant?
Yes.
No is the answer to that. Absolutely not this time. We have 5 wonderful kids, and we're going to let them have the remainder of the children that we get to take care of. So thank you guys for being on here tonight. We are so excited to share an incredible announcement to you. Now, before I share that, we're going to have Bob jump in here and he's going to share his thoughts on the vision that we believe that God is unfolding here. But before I get into this announcement, I really need to give you some context to what we believe that God is up to in Her Voice and to Telestai Ministries. Okay, so I want to make this very, very clear for everybody. We want to share this mission with you in a way that there is absolutely no question as to what our objective is. And the mission of Her Voice is to turn America back to God. And I think that you and I, if we sat down together in, like we're just sitting in our kitchen right now and you were here with us, we could probably agree that the church at large is in an interesting time. And we believe, and I'm sure you would agree, that it is time for the church to rise and shine and bring solutions and bring some real healing to America. So over the pandemic, I believe that we were caught off guard in some ways. You know, I know there were some churches that did not shut down, but for the most part, we had churches that shut down. We had youth groups that shut down. We had all sorts of things that happened that was a real devastation to the church. And so here we are a couple years into this, and we have a nation that we believe is hanging in the balance. So with Her Voice, we believe that women are being called, and men and families, entire families are being called into prayer, fasting, and this will usher in the third great awakening revival. And that's a word that we use a lot. We sing about it a lot. We throw it around a lot. And it's because it's true. We need a true awakening in the church, which is revival. But out of that revival, we see a 1 billion soul harvest coming. And we know that there are people out there who are hurting. They are disconnected from God. They're disconnected from themselves. They are disconnected from their families. And they're disconnected from their purpose on earth. And so we have seen so many people be transformed and their lives be transformed through this ministry over the last 11 years. But we believe it's just the beginning. So here's kind of where we're at. My husband and I, Bob, if you've not met him, which he'll be talking here in just a second. And a lot of you across the nation, you were watching what we watched, which was our city and potentially your city you're in, be torn apart by an organization that was a hate organization, and they had a plan in place. And as we watched this plan unfold, and we watched our city be torn up every day, rain or shine, this organization showed up at 5 p.m. in Portland, Oregon, and around the nation, and they were committed to a unified plan. They were committed to one mission. And because they were unified and committed to one plan, they got away with quite a bit. In fact, I think that they got away with too much. And so as we were watching on the fringes of this, and maybe you felt the same way I did, but I was looking at this saying, how can this be? My Bible says that we are to be taking territory. We've been given dominion on the earth, and yet I can't even go into my city after 5 o'clock without my car getting bashed in, without watching people destroy the city and different cities across the nation. And so as we look at this, the Lord told me, he said, I want you to actually take note of why they were able to do so much. Why were they able to way over 100 days in a row? How come they were able to do this? And really what it came down to was a unified battle plan. And so God began to download to us, in order to turn America back to God, yes, we're going to get in his presence. Yes, we're going to have drenched events and things all across the nation that many of you have been a part of. We're going to do our word on Wednesday. We're going to do all that. But really what we need is a battle plan. We need a unified plan to connect as individual houses of worship, whether that be churches, communities, Bible studies. And although individually we all have individual anointings. So maybe your church has an anointing in a certain area. It has a specific thumbprint, a specific mission. And then we have another church that has another mission, right? And that's so important. But what we know is that it's also as equally important that we come together and we unite. And so tonight, I'm going to share with you the battle plan that we believe God is putting on the table. And then we're going to invite you into the battle plan and then give you the big announcement. All right. So here's the battle plan. We believe that prayer hubs, which are just connection points, micro gatherings all across the nation, are going to do way more than we probably even understand. And I want you to see a prayer hub as for what it is. It's very, very simple. It's one person inviting at least one other person to meet them once a month for 1 hour for prayer. So it's a micro gathering. It's a gathering of less than 10 people coming together and praying over the nation, over the education system, over families, over church, over their church leaders, over their government officials. And we go through a 30-point prayer guide, and we're praying these prayers all across the nation. In fact, we have over 500 prayer hubs to date, which is pretty awesome because we've only been doing this for about 3 months. But we also know that God wants 1 million women praying, to mobilize 1 million women into prayer. So we're looking at 250,000 prayer hubs. That's what's been prophesied that will be happening in short order. 250,000 people who say, I'll invite somebody to my house to pray once a month. Yep. So we're asking you to come into an army and step away from being an audience, because we believe that it's going to take an army, but it's also going to take a battle plan. So we're asking you if you will open a prayer hub, if you will lead a prayer hub and be a part of the mobilization plan. You can do that by going to hervoicemovement.com, and right there on the front, the first thing you'll see is a button to join or to lead a prayer hub. And that's pretty simple. So that's our micro gathering. I want you to picture it all over the nation, 250,000 prayer hubs all over the United States of America. These are our micro gatherings. It's very, very important. And you know what I see? And I don't know if I've told you about this, Bob, but the vision I keep seeing is like a forest of trees. And these trees are different in size. They might be different in species. Some of them might be really big. Some of them might be really small. But underground, the root systems are coming together and they're connecting, and they're gaining strength through the root system underground coming together. And that's how I've seen the prayer hubs. I've seen that these hubs are actually intertwining churches and intertwining ministries, so that when the winds blow, because I think that COVID isn't the last shot the devil's going to take. I believe that we are getting ready for what the enemy would like to do to us. And we cannot be in the same position as we were a couple of years ago as a church. We just can't be. And when I say church, I don't mean an individual church. I mean the church at large. Yeah. And so the other thing is the pandemic also took out way too many churches. And a friend last night was telling me that when the windstorm came through Corbett, there was a whole bunch of trees that fell over. I mean, tons of trees that fell over. And her husband was telling her, well, that's also because they cleared too many trees out. So these trees didn't have each other to lean on in the windstorm. There was too much space in between the trees. And all of a sudden I saw a picture of churches being devastated through the enemy's plan. And I'm thinking, okay, so we need these prayer hubs to not only lock the root system of all these different entities, but also I believe that people will come into the prayer hubs and there will be an on-ramp into local churches. And it's like the forest, let's just use that example, that picture, the forest is going to fill up with churches again all over the country. And I believe it is the church that will turn America back to God. I believe it's our hour to do something about this and not just stand back and point at unrighteous people and be mad at unrighteous people for being unrighteous. Yeah. And so instead of abdicating our responsibility and being mad about it, it's our time to step in and pray and fast Okay, so that is the micro gathering. So let's move into why we're so excited about this announcement tonight. Because there are 2 macro gatherings, and that's part of the battle plan. Now, remember, we had the groups that were all over the country tearing apart cities because they had a battle plan that they got a lot of people on board. They got a lot of people moving, a lot of people in the same direction. And so this is what we're asking. We're asking for believers and even people who are unbelievers that want to be a part of something like this. We're asking them to be mobilized into not just the micro gatherings, which are the prayer hubs, but the macro gatherings. And we have 2 a year. This is part of the plan, because you know what? We do need to meet as an army. We need to come together. We need to feel each other's frequency. We need to get in each other's space, and we need to get strengthened, and we need to get the impartation from different ministers from the front so that we can go back out and light our cities on fire for Jesus. So these 2 macro gatherings, number 1, January, the Crowned Conference, Pastor Callie is hosting this conference, and we are inviting you to come and be a part of that in Houston, Texas. That is January 19th through the 21st. You can go to crownedwarriors.com. In fact, she just announced that there would be a 2-for-1 ticket. So if you've purchased a ticket, guess what? You get to bring a friend with you. Your ticket covers 2 people. And I even believe there's an option for you to go in there and buy a ticket half price if you want to split the ticket right down the center. So she's made that possible for us. And we're going to go to Houston in January. We're going to come together as an army. We're going to get equipped. We're going to get trained. We're going to have an incredible time in the presence of God, but we're going to leave strengthened for the fight ahead. Now, July. Are you ready for this? Okay, so in July, we are calling 5,000 praying women to Portland, Oregon. We're calling you to the epicenter of where the enemy tried to tear apart our nation in this city. It really was Portland, Oregon, and even up through the Pacific Northwest that the enemy went after this area. And we believe that revival is rumbling under the earth in so many regions, but we believe there's something special in Portland, and we want you to be there. Now, this will be our 5th Her Voice. Each Her Voice we have costs over $200 for each person to come, because there's expenses. There's lots and lots of expenses. You wouldn't believe the expenses that there are, but it's worth it. So we've always charged a little over $200 for every single ticket to cover the costs. And we are so thankful for all of you that have done that. But I had a thought about a month ago, and this thought kind of zipped through my head, and I thought, oh, that'd be so cool. Maybe we can do that someday. And then a week went by and it zipped across my mind again. And I thought, gosh, could we do this? I don't know. I mean, my intellectual mind was like, I don't know about that, but that would be amazing. And so I just put it out there in one of our team meetings, thinking somebody is going to talk me off the ledge and say, Jenny, that's awesome, but no. And you know what happened? Just the opposite. There was a unanimous agreement in the room. In fact, we felt the Holy Spirit come so strongly in the room that we were full of goosebumps. We were like, whoa, okay, God, this feels like you. This feels like there's grace all over this. And then I said, okay, well, let me go to Bob, because I haven't even talked to him. So I ran it by him that afternoon. He said, I love this. And then the final thing we did is went to our board, because we wanted to make sure we have a board that makes sure that we don't do stupid stuff. Okay. And that we keep the mission pure and we keep the mission on track and on target. So we went to the board, and unanimously the board said, we feel God all over this. So there wasn't one single person giving pushback, very wise people saying, yes, this needs to happen, and God's going to work a miracle in this. So here's the big announcement. We are going to, and it's live right now, up right now on hervoicemovement.com, but we are going to make it possible for every single woman to attend Her Voice Prayer and Revival Conference in July 2023 for free. That is what God has put his stamp of approval on. And you heard me correctly. Free, free, free. It is going to be free. I hope that you are just freaking out because our team freaked out. We were so giddy about it. And we really felt the enemy get a checkmate on this. We were like, oh, yep. We felt the enemy just shrug his shoulders and go, man, this is my go-to conversation. The one where I tell people that they can't come because they can't spend money on a ticket. And it was like the enemy got stripped of this play that he has had way too easy of access to, talking people out of spending money on a ticket. And you know what? We decided we're pulling out all the stops. And so we got really excited about this, and we're very excited because here's what it comes down to, is that we don't want any woman to be left out of the fight that's in front of us. Yeah. And I want you to hear me strongly. There is a fight in front of us, but I believe that this fight has already been won by King Jesus if we come in and take our rightful place in this country. If we don't stand on the fringes anymore and stand on the outside and watch other groups have plans, I believe that we are going to see a victory in this country. We will see a 1 billion soul harvest, and we will see the Church of Jesus Christ be established like a forest of trees that are so full and so robust that people all across the nation will find shade. They will find their Savior. And so we're calling the theme this year, Save Your City. You might hear Save Your City in that, but we're asking you to join the fight. Join the fight and save your city. And Jesus is going to be one that saves it. But you know what? He actually wants us to join him and collaborate with him on that. And so Bob's going to share his thoughts on this vision. And then I'm going to also share a few action steps, because there's some people that have already bought their ticket for Her Voice. And so I'm going to tell you guys in just a moment how we're going to handle that. And then we'll come back around with some action steps.
Well, there's a lot there. Thanks for having me on. We are activating our faith. I pray that you activate your faith. The way we spell faith here at Tetelestai is R-I-S-K. I believe that Jesus wants us to risk it. And the reason why I don't see it as a risk is, for years we would have gatherings in business for women. For years we've been gathering women within Her Voice. I think there's something absolutely astounding that takes place when you get a group of women together with one vision, one passion, one direction, not the band, the direction, you're where you're going, and they're coming together in a unified spirit, and then they're released from there. Powerful things take place. And that's what I'm excited for. I have this hopeful anticipation of what's going to take place during Her Voice. Not only before, but also after, when you have a group of women coming together, thousands of women coming together and are released. In the past, we've had women that have come to Her Voice, especially last year, for instance. We have charged in our past events, and the reason why, because there's a lot of expenditures. And those expenditures come in sound and building and infrastructure. I'm blown away how much things cost. So you have women that are willing to invest, and they're already pretty much awakened. So you get them in a group like last summer, we had 1,000 women coming here, and they're sent off, and they're absolutely on fire for Jesus. What if we not only take those 1,000 women that would have paid to be here, which some of you have already invested in yourself to be here, and we're going to talk about some action steps of really what's in it for you, but you've already invested in it. What if we brought some of those 2 or 3 people that you would be there, but they're not necessarily willing to take a step of faith and risk a little bit in order to be in the room? Maybe they're thinking about flying, and they're like looking at the price of plane tickets and hotels and all the expenditures that come up, and making it free, I think, just opens the door for so many more women to come in and to get awakened, because there's so many women right now, and so many men for that matter, that are asleep. They're asleep in their faith. And when Jenny was talking about trees, all I saw was just this Jesus ecosystem, that we all have different heights and strengths and giftings. We're not building this based upon a logo. We're not building this based upon a brand. We're building this based upon Jesus. And we have this Jesus ecosystem taking place. I'm amazed at what's going to take place. So I can't wait. For me, this is risk. I'm a very logical individual. She's the wow. I'm the how are we going to do that? I believe that but with this, I don't have any doubt that not only God's going to show up at Her Voice, but also God's going to show up in the finances. I just believe it. People will fund it. I will fund it. Y'all will fund it. You all step out in faith, because you're funding it not for yourself. You're funding it for your friend, your neighbor, the person you go to church with that just needs that extra fire that's inner step. So anyways, that's all I have to add.
Perfect.
Is that quick enough?
Yes, that's so good. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk about some action steps. First and foremost, this one's super obvious, is get yourself registered. Go to hervoicemovement.com, get yourself registered. Our team was like, wait a minute, is 5,000 enough? Now that it's free, how big is that room? We're making some phone calls. So there is limited seating, obviously. So get yourself registered. The second thing is make a list. Make a list of women who need to be there. I'm so excited that you get to invite your friends without the obstacle of the conversation of asking them to spend money on a ticket. Now, sure, many people are flying, many people have to get a hotel room, but we are so excited that we got to take off the load of a ticket price so that no woman could be left behind. And now you get to do that. You get to invite without stumbling over that. So I want you to make a list of women and say, hold on a minute, who needs to be there? Who needs to be in the army? Who needs to be on the tip of revival? Who needs to be, because this isn't just an event. It's a gathering of women who are coming together. We're gluing together, and we're going to go out and we're going to see revival in America. Okay, so first and foremost, it's you registering, and then it's you inviting people with a sense of urgency, get them registered. Now, the third way that you can be involved and you can help us out is, of course, if you would want to plant a seed. You know what's so funny is we scheduled this before we realized it was Giving Tuesday. It is Giving Tuesday. It was already on the calendar before we even knew that. If you want to make a tax-deductible donation and maybe even an end-of-the-year gift, some people like to do that, like to give before the end of the year, then this would be a great time. And we would be so thankful if you would prayerfully consider, go to the Holy Spirit and say, what would you like me to give? And please don't diminish a single dollar. Don't say, oh, I only have $25 to give. Oh, I can only give 500. Some people, don't have that conversation with the enemy. Because you know what? The enemy doesn't get to talk to you about this kind of stuff or anything for that matter. But go to God and ask him, is there a donation that you'd like me to make to this ministry to make it possible for women to attend free? It is going to take funding. It is going to take a miracle. But I believe so many people are going to step up to the plate, and we're going to get to celebrate this together. Yeah. We're going to get to go, gosh, look what God did. This is incredible. And it's going to build your faith. It's going to build our faith. And we're going to need it. We're going to need our faith built up for the days ahead. Okay. So that's really the action steps right there. But I do want to break down something really quick. If you purchased a ticket for 2023, let me share how we're going to work with that. What we're doing is we are moving your ticket to one of two options, and you get to choose. We are moving your ticket to a tax-deductible donation. So that will go in our books as a donation. And you can work with your accountant on how that's going to work. Just please save your receipt, because they're going to need some paperwork on that. And if you would like us to write a letter of donation, all you have to do is email us at admin@tetelestaiministries.com. Maybe somebody can stick that in the chat, which I know we have 3 chats going on since we're on 3 social media platforms right now. But it is admin@tetelestaiministries.com, and we can send a letter if that will be helpful for your records. And also, if there's anybody out there who wants a refund, we will gladly refund your money for that. If you would rather not have that as a tax deductible donation and you want a refund, all you need to do is request that at admin@tetelestaiministries.com. But for those of you that don't contact us about it, we're just going to take it as a donation, a tax deductible donation that you get to work with your accountant on how that can be a donation in your books. Okay, really quick as well. If there's something kind of cool that we're going to do, so stick with me here for a minute. For those of you that bought a ticket, and I'm going to give others of you an opportunity in here in just a second, but if you bought the ticket for Her Voice for next year and you want to leave it as a tax deductible donation, then we're going to give you early entry access to the whole conference.
Yeah.
And that means that you get to come in early and you get merch early. You get to find your seat, which is kind of nice when there's 5,000 people coming in a room. So you get to find your best seat. But the other thing I'm really pumped about is you get to be part of our pre-event prayer service. And we just go to town and pray for what God's going to do. And so you get to be a part of that. We have Lou Engle coming. We have Lisa Bevere coming and many other ministers. It's going to be straight fire, you guys. It's going to be so amazing. And so you get to be a part of that. Now, for those of you that say, hey, wait a minute, I wish I would have bought a ticket. I want to be there early. I want to be part of that. Let me tell those of you who want to be a part of the early entry. Okay. Number one, if you are an underwriter, many of you have become underwriters. That is a $5,000 one-time donation that you make anytime this year before the event. And we're going to not only let you in early access, just like I spoke of just a moment ago, but we're also going to have a breakfast for you. We have a breakfast gathering, a breakfast and prayer gathering for our underwriters. It's a special event. So that's a $5,000 one-time donation. Some people have asked if they can do it in payments, and we are not able to do it that way. This is for a one-time gift of $5,000 or more. And we will contact you, and you will be able to come to this special time with our special ministers that are going to be there. Okay. There's more though. Okay. If you still want to come and have the early access, pick your seat early, have merch early, then I'm going to offer this to you. And here's how you can do this. Number one of the ways that you can give to this ministry is by becoming a monthly partner. A monthly partner is somebody who just sets a customized amount that they want to give on a monthly basis. It could be $15. It could be $75. It could be $250. It could be whatever amount you want to give that you feel is right and good for you. And that's all in our giving link. And so when you go in there and you become a monthly partner, that's wonderful. And we thank you. And that's going to help this miracle come to pass. But for those of you that want to give $50 or more per month on a monthly basis, you will get early access into the event. If you become a monthly partner of $50 or more by December 31st of this year. So that would be within the next, I guess, 5 weeks or so. Okay. So $50 or more per month, or some of you may want to make a one-time gift by December 31st of this year of $600 or more. So if your donation is $600 or more by December 31st of 2022, then we're also going to give you an early entry access ticket. Okay, so there's multiple ways that you can come in early, and hopefully you caught all this. This will all be up for replay. You can reverse back and listen to all that again. But there are multiple ways to give. And really, let me just kind of summarize this. You can become a monthly giver. You can give one time, even as the end of the year gift, tax deductible donation, or you can become an underwriter for $5,000 or more. So we just want to thank you for considering helping this miracle come to pass. That it's going to take a miracle. It's going to take people really listening to God, but we have no doubt in our mind that we're going to see it happen. And I also felt that this was, you're not just giving to an event, you're sowing seed into revival. And I felt that you were sowing seed in two different ways. I heard God say this morning that they're sowing seed into revival in their state, and they're sowing seed into revival into their legacy. And so I love that. I love that God is saying, listen, this isn't just about us coming to something in July that gets paid for and the bills get paid, but we are actually sowing seed. And this is how kingdom economy works. We don't just throw money at something. It's seed. Yeah. It's seed. It bears fruit. And so I saw it bearing much fruit in revival in your state, in your church, in your ministry, in your family. And I saw it bearing fruit for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. So we want to thank you for this. We hope that you're as excited as we are. Mainly go register and go invite other people to register. And we know that we'll see so many of you at Crowned in January, because that is a gathering. That's part of the battle plan, are these 2 macro gatherings every single year. So we love you so much. Any last words?
It's going to be an awesome adventure.
Yeah. Thank you for being a part of the venture. We love you guys so much, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
God bless.